Don in London, hello. My second video of the day for 29th of January 2009, all about recovery from addiction to substance or behaviour. And in my last one, I ran out of time. I was talking about the 12 steps of the Fellowship of AA. That's the Alcoholics Anonymous Fellowship. Not an organisation, just a fellowship of human beings, ordinary ones, a bit like me. Well, are we unique or authentic? Probably. So lots of human beings with lots of outlooks and different ways of looking at the world. And in particular, what's important to me is getting a message of experience, strength and hope across about how we get out of the addiction to alcohol or behaviour. And it's a daily chore, actually. Well, maybe it's not a chore once we get to understand what the 12-step programme does. So the 12-step programme is part of the toolkit, if you like, of how to be sober a day at a time. And the gift of sobriety is we start to find out what is true, the truth of now, and how we are connected to it, and what we may do and what we may not do. And that's not to say that we have boundaries or barriers to our living. We actually get to understand where those boundaries and barriers are, or where there are no barriers, and we can develop further and make our life work and be useful, have something useful to do, be loved and loved back. So that's what it's about. It's about being able to live free with the choices that are available to us, not a wish list from the past nor a wish list for the future, to make one day work. And that's the gift of how it works, the 12 steps. And in this leaflet, how it works, which I did talk about at the beginning of the month, but I think it's probably a good idea to just go back to it. I'll make some comments as I go. It says here, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And most people don't thoroughly follow the path. Most people go out drinking again, or spectacularly stop of their own volition. So my understanding of, you wouldn't fail if you thoroughly follow the path, but it's more likely you go out and have a few drinks on the back of, oh my God, I might be able to get sober. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. And truthfully, I was in such denial at the beginning. I went out drinking on and on and on, because I thought, how can you stop? And drink is the only thing, it's my best friend. So it took me a long time to understand that. They are such unfortunates, and I was unfortunate. They are not at fault, they seem to be born that way. Well, maybe, I was. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. And you know what? Even these days I find it hard to be rigorously honest in case I hurt other people's feelings, and in the process somehow maybe lose a friend. But it often turns out, if we don't tell the truth, we haven't got any friends anyway. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. And I have to work at that. Clinical depression is something not unusual in alcoholics, because we've been taking a depressant substance for far too long, and we're hooked on it. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Yes, and it's sometimes people are at their wits' end and will do anything to get out of the addiction. But most of us need to actually try it out first and see how it goes. Adopt the steps as a way of understanding how to live sober. And it goes on to say, our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be. I'll cover that, yes. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. Have you ever tried to give up? With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. In other words, try to be honest. So hard if you're an alcoholic in denial. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. And that's let go of trying to think we can do it with our willpower. Give up alcohol, my God. How hard was that? On my own, almost impossible, I would have said. Well, it was impossible. For me. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. And you know what? As you know from my videos, the God of my understanding, just me, God is truth, God is love, and very real in our lives, because God then can work through people and I also can understand what is being said to me, as long as I can get to truth and be open and honest and willing. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. So I'm afraid I didn't. It took me a while to understand that the truth would set me free. But you know what? Truth was I couldn't see the truth because I was still bamboozled and sodden with alcohol and the hangover which came with it. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point, yes. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. And as I've been talking about it, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So I was powerless over alcohol and still remain so. And if I were to go back to drinking, I would become unmanageable again. Indeed, I wouldn't be able to manage type 1 diabetes or dealing with... Ooh, I've got somebody calling me. I have to smile. I've just received this great big box from America, and I suspect it's full of coffee from a friend. So, alcoholics drink lots of coffee. And thank you. You know who you are. You've made my day. And I was in to get it. Wow. Anyway, coming back to these 12 steps of recovery, I've got a smile on my face. I wasn't expecting that to happen. Step 2, it says here, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And the power greater than me is certainly the fellowship of AA, my local hospital, the community, society and civilization. Help me keep on track. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And for me that is truth and love. And there's no better way of living than to the truth, even though it can elude me on a daily basis really dramatically. And then 4, which is part of the history part, made a searching, fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And that really needs to be 2 things. How we were and how we are today, and what we are aiming to do. Then 5, admitted to God, to the truth, to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs, which is about expression of what we did and how we were. 6, it says here, entirely ready to have God, or in my case truth, remove all these defects of character. And my primary ones, as most people know, are fear, brave-facing and ego. But not completely, because if I don't have some of that some of the time, then I will get myself into scrapes and dangerous situations. So sometimes I need to rush out of a situation. And then 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. And for me, my shortcomings are around the truth of being able to have courage, faith and confidence in myself, to improve my outlook. 8, made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So it's just making a list and being willing. And then 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So we don't go around saying I'm sorry to people who are going to really be hurt by us turning up in their life again. 10, and this is the ongoing action, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation. And, it's asking ourselves what is the truth, is the meditation. To improve our conscious contact with God or the truth as we understand him or it. Praying only for knowledge of his will, the truth, the actual truth, and the power to carry that out. And often we need to actually consult with our nearest and dearest, what is the truth of now, and how may we go on. And then step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So, and it says here, many of us exclaim, what an order, I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one amongst us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress, getting to the truth of now, is for me, rather than spiritual perfection, which I shall never attain. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make 3 clear, pertinent ideas. That we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. True. That probably no one human power could have relieved our alcoholism. True. That God, that is the truth of now, could and would if he were sought or it was sought. So there we are.